on this computer. Okay, welcome back. We are on Daf Tes Zayin Amud Beis 16b, all the way at the top, the second line actually from the top, in the middle of the line. So what we're discussing over here, what we were in the middle of discussing over here, was if there is a scenario that you could destroy the opportunity to do the mitzvah saseh after that's a lav shenitak laseh, right? So what's the scenario? If you have a mitzvah saseh, don't do such and such, right? And if you do it, there could be a possibility of malchus of lashes, but the Torah gives you a mitzvah saseh in order to correct it. Right, and if it gives you a mitzvah to say to correct it, so then obviously you don't get lashes, right? Because you do the mitzvah to say lav shenitak laseh ain't liken. Right, now we had a machlokes between Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish. What was the machlokes? If you give him a certain amount of time to do it, and otherwise he could get lashes, or it's not that you give him a certain amount of time, as long as there's a potential to still do that mitzvah saseh, right, to do that positive commandment, so then he doesn't get lashes, right? So which way do we look at it? And there's a machlokes Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish. Now, according to the opinion that you always have the opportunity to do that mitzvah saseh, right? But what if that mitzvah saseh opportunity gets destroyed? So we brought a statement that there's only two scenarios, two lav shenitak lasehs, that the mitzvah saseh could get destroyed. What were the two scenarios? Remember? What was the two scenarios? One was about the mother bird, shechting the mother bird, right? So now you can't send it away. And the other one was, it was in the case of the oinus of when the oinus, when he rapes someone, he has to marry them, and he divorces her so he could return to marry, right? But what if he made a proclamation? That was the scenario. Oh, that's what it was. He made a proclamation, like an oath, but in public or in front of a bezin. I don't remember the Gemara. Remember, the Gemara went back and forth on that, which way it has to be that it stays, that he can't go back on his oath, right? Usually, if you make a promise on something, you could go in front of a bezdin and take away a promise. We had this recently, a while ago. I remember one he called me up. There was a case there where a woman passed away, and she made her husband promise that he won't get remarried. He made an oath, and then she passed away. And he still had a whole life ahead of him. He wasn't sure what to do. And anyways, I don't know the details of the story at all. Everyone called me up and my friend here in Kirkland to come and to make a hataras nedarim to get him out of his oath. Speak profusely. Yeah. Second, why is this not working? Hi Ben, how are you?
BH, how are you?
Very good. I'm just going to mute you over here so that way it's on the recording properly, and we're going to go over here. Why is this not working? No, should be working in this video. There we go. Okay, yeah, but he needed you to take away an oath. You have to have a bezdin. So he needed another two. He asked me to come and someone else to come. And the hataras nedarim. It's a common thing in Judaism. You can make a commitment to something, but afterwards life moves on, and there's a reason to go get out of that commitment. And there's a way to do it. There's a process to do it. Now, what we learned in the Gemara was that there is a scenario where you can't do a hataras nedarim. What was that scenario? When you got up and said it in front of a bezdin, or you got up and said it in front of a lot of people. It wasn't a commitment you made to one person, or you got up and said it in front of a lot of people. And what happens then? Then you can't be mater neder, right? So that was the case. So now you can't do the asay to take away the lois asay. So then you could get lashes, right? So that's the zois v'ayda cheres, this mitzvah and one other. Remember, he didn't specify the second mitzvah. Remember, he said, go figure it out yourself, right? He didn't specify it. Zois v'ayda cheres. So what was the zois? The one that he did specify, that's the mother bird, that if you shech the mother bird, so then you can't send it away, right? And the second case, that we assumed over there was this case where he made a commitment, an oath that he won't remarry this woman, and now he would get lashes in that case, right? Because the pasuk says that he can't divorce her. So the Gemara now continues and says, but one second, we have another mitzvah. We have another mitzvah where there is a lav, where you're not allowed to do something. And if you do it, there's a correctional way. There's a way to fix it. And what is it? Va'ika peya. There's peya. What's peya?
Corner.
Oh, corner of what? Corner of a field. The mitzvah is like a chikha peya. There's 3 categories of things in your field that you're supposed to leave to a poor person or someone that needs it. When you take the produce from your field, you're supposed to leave the corners of your field. And the corners of your field, the poor people come, and this is what they don't have to knock on your door for a donation, for a tzedakah. They could go to your field and they could take what they need, right? And the Amar Rachmana, the Rachmana that the pasuk says, right? What's the lav? What's the loisasa? The pasuk says loisachala pa'asadcha bekutzrecha, right? So loisachala pa, that you shouldn't not leave over the corners of your field, as I state in the pasuk. So it's a loisachala, right? That's loisasa. Now the pasuk continues. The pasuk continues with an assay. It says, "La'ani v'lager tazoiv oisom." You should leave it for the ani, for the poor person, and for the ger, and for the convert, or for the person who's living there that doesn't have family, doesn't have relatives. You should leave it there. The mashkachas la b'kimoi v'loikimoi bitloi bitloi. So you could find, right? You could find the scenario that even according to the opinion that as long as there's the opportunity to do the mitzvahs asay, meaning, what happens if you cut that corner? What do? Do you get lashes? You get lashes if you cut that corner. It says you're not allowed to leave you cut that corner. Oh, but what if you cut that corner? No, I'll take from my grain and I'll leave it in that corner. I cut it down, but I'll go put grain into that corner, right? I can fix it. That's the point. La'ani v'lager tazei v'isam is the positive mitzvah. Fix it. Yeah. You made a mistake, or even if you did it on purpose, fix it. Go take grain and put it in the corner, right? That's the fixing. That's the lav shenit I say. But what if that grain doesn't exist anymore? Could you fix it? Right? In that case, you might get lashes. So now, what did we say? We said there's only 2 cases where there's lav shenitek laseh, that you would get lashes, according to the opinion that there's a mitzvah to say, a potential mitzvah to say. But here we see that there's ika peya. That's the question of the Gemara. There is the scenario of peya where you could destroy your opportunity to do the mitzvah to say and fix it. Right? The Tanya, like we learned in Abraisa, mitzvahs peya la'afresh min hakama. So it's very famous, it's very straightforward Braisa, that first and foremost, when it comes to the mitzvah of peya, you have to leave min hakama, from what's growing in the field, what's growing in that corner. You have to leave that. Lo yifresh min hakama. What happens if you didn't designate a corner from the what's growing? What do you do? Mafresh min ha'imrin. So then you take, after you cut down the thing, so you take some of it and you put that in that corner, right? So you could still accomplish it while it's still in the field before you take it into the granary. Right. So then, if you took in and brought it in and you made a pile or whatever, so then you could still take from that pile and put it into that corner, right? Now, what happens if you made it into flour, right? Merchay, how does he translate the word merchay over there? Probably that they ground it, smooth it, ground it, right? So now it's flour. It's not stalks of wheat anymore. Oh, flour that you can't leave in the corner. What are you gonna do? Start sprinkling flour in the corner for someone to come and pick up. Even if you put bags over there, that's not pay anymore. So what the Gemara says, what the Braisa says, ma'aser. So you give ma'aser from it, and that's it. You can't do peya anymore. You cannot do the mitzvah of peya anymore. Once you
process, you can't do peya.
Right. So what do we see from here? That there is a scenario in peya where there's a lav shenitek laseh, and the mitzvah laseh it comes to a scenario where it's not possible anymore to do that mitzvah laseh. right? So what are you telling me? There's only two cases, right? The mother bird and this Ionis story, right? The divorcing the person, the woman, and not remarrying her. Why are you telling me there's only two cases? Here we have a third case. So the Gemara answers that no, the Rabbi Yechanan, who is of that opinion, so here it's Rabbi Shmuel. He holds like Rabbi Shmuel. There's an opinion of Rabbi Shmuel. This Brisa says that once it's flour, you can't do payah. Rabbi Shmuel has an opinion that even if you made a dough already, forget about flour, even if you went and you made it into a dough, you could still take payah from that dough. I guess put it into things and let a poor person take the dough. Why not? Right?
It would be better for the person.
Exactly. Meaning, at what point do we say you can't do pay anymore? So there's the opinion of the Brisa that it has to be stalks of wheat. It has to be, okay, so you cut it or whatever, but it has to be produce. Here it's not once you make it into flour, it's not produce anymore. It's flour, right? It changed so it changed the way it looks. It doesn't look like stalks of wheat anymore. Right? So as long as it looks like a stalk of wheat, okay, it was cut, it was taken in, it doesn't matter, you could take care of it. Right? Here you can't. But Rabbi Shmuel doesn't hold like the Brisa, and he says you could even give payoff from dough. Well, Rabbi Shmuel, Nami Mishkachas Lo. The Gemara continues to ask over here. He's saying by Rabbi Shmuel that you're saying that payah could continue as long as you made a dough. What if you made the dough, you baked it, and now you ate it? So there's still a scenario where you can't do payah. Okay, Rabbi Shmuel gives you another two opportunities. You made it into flour, fine, you could still do payah. You made it into dough, fine, you could still do payah. But what if you ate it? What if it's gone, right? So there is still a scenario where the mitzvah asay of payah doesn't exist anymore, right? So what's the story here? So the Gemara says, "Elo aha." So the Gemara says, hold on a second. So maybe when Rabbi Yochanan said that there's the mitzvah of Shiloh Haken, of the mother bird, where you could destroy your opportunity to do mitzvah saseh, and what's the Oida Cheres? Maybe it's Payah. Maybe it's not the story of Einis. Why not the story of Einis? So remember, I recapped the story of Einis specifically because of this Gemara. What's the story of Einis? The story of Einis is that someone Chas v'shalom raped someone, right? So the pasuk says that you have to marry her as long as she wants. You have to marry her. You're not allowed to send her away. What if he divorces her? Also, he has a mitzvah say to remarry her, and then he doesn't get lashes. But what if he makes an oath that I'll never marry her, right? So we came to a scenario there in the Gemara where that oath is so strong that he can't do ataras nedarim, right? So the Gemara over here is going to say, yeah, that's for a regular oath, if I commit to something or whatever. But here, the oath is going against a mitzvah. For a mitzvah, you could always do ataras nedarim, right? If you made an oath that I will never do such and such a mitzvah, well, that's it's not so simple. You have to be careful about it. But how do you get out of it? You have to do ataras nedarim. It's not like the oath is nothing. The oath is very serious, but you can be matir nether. You can take yourself out of that nether. So then you can't say in that case that it's lav shenita klasei, that the asay is gone, because the asay is taked there, right? Oh. No, Marvin, see. Start the recording here. Okay. So Rabbi Yochanan says that there is another case where there's a mitzvah say. Marvin, we're going to start a new concept in a moment. So if you're not following over here, in 2 minutes we're going to start a new Gemara. So there's the case of, so he said that when it comes to Einis, when it comes to the case of that woman, so he could still do ataras nedarim. He could still take himself out of that oath. Why? Because in order to do a mitzvah. So let's see it inside. So which is the oida cheres is payah, right? And not by Yonis. When do we say that if someone makes an oath in public that you can't release yourself from that oath, when it's something that you're allowed to do, you want to do, right? But but if it's in order to do a mitzvah, if it's in order to do a positive deed, in order to do a mitzvah, so then you're allowed. Then you definitely could get out of that commitment. Okay, let's continue. So this is a there's a story in the Gemara. There was a story of this teacher of Dardiki. Dardiki is little children, and this guy to have a pasha b'yinoke, he used to hit and too much, right? Back in the day, maybe it was something more common that a teacher or a parent would spank a child or something like that. Today, definitely not PC. But the Gemara says this one was doing it way too much. And Adrei Rav Acha, like made an oath, but a commitment in front of others, Aldas Rabbim, right, in front of others, that this guy should never teach children ever again. And Ravina came and he overturned it. How could he overturn it if he did it Aldas Rabbim, if he did it in public? So Gemara says there was nobody that was like so detailed as this guy, and since there was nobody as detailed as this guy, so therefore he took him back in and he had him teach. So that's the proof, so to speak, that when it comes for a mitzvah, when it comes for the opportunity to do a mitzvah, you could get out of the oath. Now, if this person could get out of the oath about marrying this girl, so what happens? He still has the opportunity to do the mitzvah saseh of marrying this girl, and therefore it's not a lav shenit saseh that gets destroyed. And so, which is the other case? The other case is payah. So now, what's the Gemara according to Rabbi Yochanan? There's two cases of lav shenit saseh that the aseh could get destroyed, and therefore he would get lashes. According to Rabbi Yochanan, according to Rish Lakish, you just give him a timeline, and then he can get lashes. According to Rabbi Yochanan, what are the two cases? It's the mother bird if he shechts the mother bird, and payah if he actually either makes it into flour, according to one opinion, and according to the other opinion, if he makes it into bread and eats it and it's gone, and therefore he can't do payah. In that case, he would get malchus. Okay, so now we're at the new Gemara. We're continuing. We're going to finish off the Mishnah, actually, that we've been talking about. This Mishnah, what are we talking about? We're talking about different things that a person could do and would get malchus, would get lashes. The halachic punishment for these things are lashes. So the Mishnah says, which one are oichel neveles? If someone eats neveles is non-shechted animals. Treifos is an animal that like died on its own, that wasn't healthy. It's called a treifa. That's where the word treif comes from, actually. Shkatzim or ramasim are creepy crawlies, right?
In the old days, we used to call the shkutzim.
Yeah.
They were the non-Jews. We used to fight with them in Senegal.
Shagets.
Yeah.
The shkatzim, yeah.
Repugnant creatures.
Yeah, that's where it comes from. Yeah. So talking when in halachic terms, talking about creepy crawlies, talking about bugs. Really, yeah. That, by the way, as an introduction to this whole section, that's why we check our lettuce, right? It's a big problem to eat bugs. And that's why, for example, even eating in a non-kosher, but it's what do you call it? Like it's not meat or dairy, vegan, right? A vegan restaurant. Because I'm eating in a vegan restaurant. What could be wrong? What could be not kosher? There's no non-kosher meat. It's all green, right? Could be a bug in there. And as we're going to see, a bug is a big problem if it's a whole bug. If it's a part of a bug, it's less of a problem, right? It was in the Mishnah already that if it's a whole bug, a beria, it's called in halacha. A whole bug, it's an isser. If it's pieces,
part of a bug.
No, then you need it to be at least. It needs to be the size of a kazayas, right? So one bug is not the size of a kazayas, right? 10 bugs are not the size of a kazayas. But if it's a whole berry, it's a problem, and that's why we check our lettuce, right, or anything else, even strawberries or whatever. These are things that we check because we make sure not to eat bugs. So that's where it comes from. So Amar Rav Yoda. Rav Yoda says, "Hi man da'achol binisa devekrava." A person that eats a worm that's inside kruv. Kruv is cabbage, right? It translates to cabbage over there, right? So meaning he didn't check the cabbage and there was bugs inside, right? So he could get lashes. Melkinon le mishum sheretz hasheretz al aretz. This is what it says in the pasuk that you shouldn't eat sheretz hasheretz al aretz, the creepy crawlies from the ground, even though it was in the vegetable. But that's right. But obviously he doesn't get lashes unless he did it on purpose, right? If someone ate it by mistake, you don't get lashes for that. But if someone did it, meaning he was warned, you shouldn't eat that. Look, I don't care. I need the extra protein. right? That kind of thing. But that's the halacha, right? Ahu the achal ben nisa the vekrava v'nagdei Rav Yehuda, and there's a story of Rav Yehuda that there's some guy who went in front of Rav Yehuda and Rav Yehuda gave him lashes. Amar Abaye says, Avol Petisa, when it can, Achal Petisa, if he can, so there's creepy crawlies that are on the ground, and there's certain fish that are considered to be a sheretz of the water. Okay, I'm not a professional in this. It's not a fish. What is it?
Lobster.
A lobster. Okay, there you go. Right?
Shrimp.
A shrimp, a lobster. Good. I guess that's what it's referring to. Yeah, makes sense. So someone eats a sheretz from the water, like also, but on this case, it's 4 different mitzvahs. Leisa says that he's 4 different things that it says in the Torah that he's going against. 4 things. Nemala, Nemala is a ant, right? Like a chamesh that's based on 5, right? Here he gives you the exact details which ones it is. Mishum sheretz, a sheretz ala aretz, and then tzira, a bee. Someone eats a bee, right? Like a sheish, because it meant mishum sheretz oif, because it even mentions in the pasuk mentions sheretz on the ground. It mentions sheretz in the water, but then it says sheretz that flies, and a bee is considered a sheretz that flies. So now, you brought up the word shegets, right? And how does he translate the word shegets or shekets? Is disgusting, right? So the Gemara is saying, hold on a second, there's other things that we try to make sure, this belongs probably better, Philip, in Gemara Brachas, this statement that he's going to bring up now, right? That a person shouldn't hold in when he needs to go to the bathroom. Go right away to the bathroom. It's a sheket, it's a shegets type of thing. Right? Hamash is nikavav, someone that holds himself in from going to the bathroom. Don't be a shegets to yourself. Don't. It's not nice. It's not healthy. It's not nice. It's not proper. So Rabbi says someone that drank. So I'm not sure exactly what this is, but this is some sort of cone that was used in order to bloodlet. And if someone uses that cone instead of bloodletting, he uses that cone to drink.
He gives a picture of it.
Oh, he gives a picture of it?
It's like cupping. It's a cup.
Oh. So it's used for refuah. Don't use it for your water.
You know, they do cupping all the time, athletes.
Yeah.
Today, now you see them with round blue marks on their shoulders, especially swimmers.
Right.
That's what they do. It helps them to, I don't know, helps blood circulation.
So it's called bankus, right? In Yiddish, bankus. Many years ago, when I was doing a summer camp in Russia, I was in a city called Chelyabinsk. Chelyabinsk is in the Ural Mountains. It's close enough to Siberia that we were there in August and wearing sweaters every day. They told us in July it was nice, but August was already cold. We couldn't let the kids into the lake. It was too cold already to be in the lake. In August, it was too cold to be in the lake. Anyway, a beautiful campsite and everything. And I got sick. And I remember this, I was 18 years old, something like that. And the doctor in the camp wanted to do bankis. Like I had a shtickle fever or whatever. I looked at my friends and I said, I'm going into bed. I'm not getting out of bed until I'm 100% better, right? And I'm not going to that doctor. And it took me 2 days, and I was like, I needed to rest. You're busy running a camp, and you flew in, and it's different weather, and this and that. So it did something, you know.
The expression that my mother has used is "to helfen as oivi toiten benkis." What does it mean? Giving cupping to a dead person.
Right, but on the other hand, people still use it. There is something to it. It's just that there's better ways today. That's the yeah. No, it does something.
They do bleeding too. They use
bloodletting. Yeah. And all these old things, they weren't nothing. They saved people's lives. They did something, right? So, anyways, that idea. Oh, so this cup or whatever that you're going to use for bloodletting or something like that. We're 16b, almost a little bit more than halfway down the page. So you shouldn't use the cup for drinking if it's used for it's also from the same shegitz word, right? That they should. It's disgusting. So now let's go back to this conversation about creepy crawlies, right? So you had 9 ants, but you put them through a blender, right? And that's no. I'll tell you why I'm saying that, because it happens. This is a halachic discussion today. What happens if you don't check your lettuce, but you blended it, not your lettuce, and other fruit that you buy, right? Well, today you also buy frozen fruit, frozen vegetables that you're going to use to make a smoothie, right? So what happens in that case? So if it's a blended something you buy in the store, something blended, right? So you don't have to worry about a bug in there. Why? Because you're not going to have a kazayas amount of bug in there, right? You're not going to have a kazayas amount, but you're going and you're not going to have a whole one either. So that's not a problem. So that's what Rav Baravuna says. So if 9 bugs became they're not whole anymore. The heavy echad chai, but there's one that is whole. So and now that you have this one extra one, now it's the size of a kazayas, right? Like a sheish. So then there's 6. Loisa says because the chamish mishum beria, because the fact that it's a beria, that one beria already gives you 5 lav. The other one, the fact that it's upta kazayas is only 1 lav. Right? Rava Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Rava says the name of Rabbi Yochanan. Afilu shnayim v'hu. Even 2 in that one, right? Rabbi Yosef Amar afilu echad v'hu. V'loi pligi ha b'ravre ha. So the Gemara over here, I'm not sure. Someone said that Taisvus maybe discusses it. Didn't have time to look at the Taisvus. It's a long Taisvus over here. Recitation. It's like almost the whole page. What's being mechadish over here? Of course, if you're gonna have 2 and 1, and the 2, and together it makes a kazayas. It's the same halacha. What are we changing over here? What's the chiddush here? But anyways, what he's saying is that it doesn't matter the number; it matters the size, right? If it's the size of kazayas, it's a problem, and if it's even 1, but it's a whole, it's a berian, so then it's also a problem. Okay, another quote from the Mishnah: Achal tevel u'maiser rishen. So tevel, what's tevel? Tevel is produce that wasn't taken, that trumas and maises weren't taken from, so that's a problem. You're not allowed to eat even today. And we were careful produce from Eretz Yisrael not to eat if they didn't take trumas and maises. Amarav achal tevel shemaiser ani. So now there's different levels of meiser, right? There's truma to the koyin, there's meiser rishen, meiser sheni, meiser ani. So what if meiser ani is a specific tithe that has to go to the poor person, right? So what if you didn't take out that meiser ani and you ate the produce? So like you could get lashes for that. Keman, who's this going according to? Tanya, the Tanya, Amrav Yaisi, Yachal Chayev, Ela Tevel Shaloi, Hurami Menu. So this is talking about a different case. This is talking about no, it's not. Okay, yeah, you might say that you don't get lashes only. When do you get lashes? On tevel that you didn't take trumas and maisers from it kolikor. That you didn't take at all any truma maiser. So that's when you get lashes, right? But what if you only didn't do one of them? So hura mimenu truma g'daylav learning mimenu meiser rishen meiser sheni. What if you did one and not the other, right? Truma but not meiser rishen but not meiser sheni, or bafilu meiser ani. And what if you did everything except for meiser ani? So the halacha is, according to Rabbi Yossi, that even if it's one of them that's missing, so and he ate it on purpose, obviously, you could get lashes. Minayin. Where do we know this from? Rabbi Yossi says, Talmud Loimar, the pasuk says, Leisucha lechel b'shorecha. that it says that you're not allowed to eat it. And loy suchal, it's a mitzvah slice said that you go against, you can get lashes for, right? But then later on, but we don't know what's this referring to. Maybe this is referring to a case where none of the trumas and maasros were taken. But he says, and later on it says that the poor will eat and they'll be satiated. Where are they going to eat from? From the meiser ani, from the tithing that you're going to give to the poor. So therefore they learn from there that it's talking about meiser ani.
I read somewhere, it must have been another Gemara, and I don't remember which one stuff was. This thing about v'achlu b'sharecha
Saveo.
So some guys, unscrupulous guys, they brought in the food through a side window, not through the front door, b'sharecha. To get
In order to get it out of it.
They brought it in another way.
Right.
Imagine.
Find the loophole. What do you mean? Imagine. This is a common practice today. Everybody's looking for a loophole one way or another. Why do you think that 2,000 years ago they weren't looking for a loophole, right? But at the end, but if you look at it from the other perspective, that your whole bracha comes if you do it properly. So then you want to look for a loophole, right? But again, everybody has a Yetzirah, and there were elements of people that were looking for a loophole, and Taka wouldn't be obligated in that case. So Amar Rav Yosef. So now the Gemara is basically going to say that there's two opinions. One opinion is that Meiser, if the only thing that's missing Meiser Ani, so then you can't get lashes for just eating tevel of Meiser Ani. And the other opinion is going to be that you could if it's only missing Meiser Ani. And it's a different opinion based on a Mishnah. So Amar Rav Yosef Katanai. Rav Yosef says that it's based on an argument of Tanoim, of Tanaic sages. So now this is talking about Dubai. We were talking about Tevel before. Tevel means that you know for sure that it wasn't taken Meiser from it, right? Dmai is a case where you went and bought produce from someone that you think is not learned enough to rely on that person. That person needs a hechsher. Sometimes, it's a perfect example. Hechsher is a good example, right? Today, can you go to someone else's house? You eat kosher, the other person eats kosher. Could they eat in their house? Absolutely. Right? What if you don't think that, they eat kosher, but they don't know the intricacies of the halachas, and maybe certain things will slip by, and therefore I'll be uncomfortable eating their house, right? That's what's demai, right? We don't know. I'm not going to go and ask him, and I don't even know if I ask him, I'm putting him on the spot. Maybe he'll be uncomfortable. He won't tell me the truth, like these kinds of things. So therefore, it's like a question mark. Demai is a question mark. And we don't know. Did this guy do Trumas Amaisers or didn't he do Trumas Amaisers? And we can't ask him. Well, if there was a mashgiach there, so then it would be one thing, right? But there's ways that you could do Trumas Amaisers on the spot. So that's what the Mishnah is talking about, right? So the Mai, that scenario of produce. So Rabbi Eliezer Omer, if the only thing that you're worried about that he didn't do is Meiser Ani, forget about it. Don't worry about it. It's okay. Right? And he doesn't have, what's likris as Hashem means that, okay, I need this produce now, but not sure if there was meiser. So I commit a stack of meiser in my house. I say, this pile over there, I'm going to give meiser from there. That's good enough because there is a designation of meiser, and that's good. But Rabbi Eliezer says that when it comes to meiser ani d'mai, don't worry about it. You don't have to do that. But the sages say, and now we're on page 17a at the top, so that he should just commit to something, but he doesn't have to separate it. My love, so this is talking about the Mai. Now the Gemara is going to try to bring it to our case, which is talking about Tevel, right? So maybe this is what their argument is. The Mari Savar Badai Toivloi, the Umar Savar Badai Einai Toivloi. That maybe they're of the opinion that in a case of Tevel, right, that for sure Meiser Ani wasn't taken, it makes it Tevel. And the other opinion says, no, even if you know for sure, it doesn't make it Tevel. They're trying to learn it in the argument over here of Rabbi Eliezer and the Chachamim. And the Gemara obviously says, they're arguing, you're saying that they're arguing, we know that they're arguing when it's a suffix, when it's a doubt. Yeah.
In the secular world, what they do is they make laws against things that people have already done.
Right.
But Are you saying that these rules with an ant and a wasp and a snake and whatever else? Are you saying that people used to actually, even before they passed the laws?
Great question.
What do you mean before? I'm not sure I understand the question.
It's not realistic, he's saying, that people actually do such things.
Eat.
Wasps, eat flies.
I would never think about an
9
ant.
ants and 1 ant.
Oh,
That's the, well, you can.
no. Maybe they don't eat it because the Torah says not to eat it.
No, here they're anticipating that the people are going to eat these things.
Yeah, it's a good
And it
question.
says here you shouldn't.
No, but it's a good.
It's not here, it says in the Torah. Here we're discussing it. It says it's a verse in the Torah.
This
It's a
is-
good question.
This is the point. It's
Yeah.
a good question, but this is the how you should understand when you read Gemara.
No, all I'm saying is the only reason that would make something that is disgusting, as they say, is because
People were gonna eat it, so you're holding them back.
actually before all this was written, there were people eating those things.
No, I don't think.
And
Not
there
in-
wouldn't be any need to mention it.
In
The
Jewish,
point is, they need to mention it because this is what Gemara is. It's, forget about real life. This is possibilities. This is logic. And they keep splitting and doing different types of logic. What about this? Whoa, what about that? They can do anything. It doesn't maybe make sense with real life, but it's the logic which is what they're interested in. What's another, let's split hairs this way. Let's, how much is 1/10 of a second? What's his name? The Bilam, he knew exactly when Hashem was angry. And how long was that? It was, I don't know, the time it takes to say the Shema. No, 1 second, no, 160,000. Does it make sense? It makes sense.
If you look at the
The
word,
Gemara.
so I'll just, it's beyond the scope of the Gemara, but I just want to give you one comment in order to understand the difference.
yeah. I know.
Secular law comes to make sure that a society runs. Torah law doesn't come to make sure a society is healthy and runs properly. That's not why Torah.
No,
So
I
your
understand
comment
that.
about,
I understand
so in
that.
secular law, you would only say something because someone's doing it. You want to make sure they don't do it, right? In Torah law, it's not that way at all. It's not that way at all.
That's a good answer.
Judaism is an approach to refining our characters, and the Torah gives you many different
Okay,
things in
okay.
order to help you to refine your character.
Okay, so that doesn't mean that,
Doesn't mean that someone was eating ants.
all the people before were
No.
doing it.
That's
No,
right, exactly.
it doesn't.
Okay,
Yeah,
so this is anticipation.
yeah,
It's anticipation, but even in anticipation, they're pretty sure nobody's gonna do it. But
exactly.
it's logic. Let's go and let's go further and further and further to, according to, finer and finer. Let's split
The
hairs.
extremes. We go to the
Split-
extremes.
Yeah, goes to the extreme.
Okay.
Hair
Yeah,
splitting.
yeah.
They
But
like
it's
the
a
hair
key.
splitting.
It's an important thing because I know you went to law school, so you have that. You have to keep in mind, and it's a big part. I know.
Very important.
But it's an important point, and it's part of the actually current JLI course. It's a very important thing to understand that civil law, when it comes to regular civil law, it's in order to make sure society runs, and therefore things go this way, things go that way. It more or less stays it to, talks about rights, for example. Judaism doesn't talk about rights. There's talks about responsibilities. It's a very different approach because Torah, Hashem, Jewish law comes to teach you how to be a good person, how to be a refined character. Civil law doesn't need you to be a refined character, wants you to make sure that you're doing the right thing. So therefore, you're eating the wrong things. You're eating something that's unhealthy from you. They outlaw unhealthy meats. You can't buy unhealthy meats. Why? They outlawed it. Nobody could sell it. Why? Because they want to make sure society is healthy, right? So therefore, and if someone's going to go ahead and eat it, right? That's where it comes from.
It's a great point that you brought up, and it was explained beautifully. But another thing, that's why scholars of Talmud, they make good lawyers, because even though one is civil law and one is Torah law, because you split these hairs, you can bring in a doubt in a case which nobody thought of that doubt. Nobody split the hair that way. And you can bring it up in a court and the judge will say, yeah, it could have been. It's not 100% proven. You found something that it could be put it in doubt, not, you know?
But there's the other side of it.
Yeah,
If you put it into a book and it's written,
right,
and if you're the kind of person that wants to, I guess, be rebellious or be
right,
something,
like me.
and
Uh,
ordinarily he would never think about eating an ant,
Right,
but now it's written.
you
Well,
gotta get used to it. I used to have the
So,
same thing. I
you
used to say,
know,
well, what are they
always
talking
encourage,
about?
it almost encourages somebody who would not eat it in the first place.
Say, what are they? So it brings up a good story. A Geschmack im Eisen. So in the shtetl, so this is talking about Lubavitch. So there were Bachrim sitting and talking, right? So what are verbringen? Verbringen, don't give in to your Yitzhara. Don't give in to Yitzhara, right? So that's why, Yitzhara lusts after things. Don't give it to Yitzhara. This guy's sitting there, he doesn't know, he lives in the shtetl. What kind of Yitzhara does he have, right? So he's thinking, he says, I gotta test it out. This is, what was it? The candles were made out of chaylev, made out of chaylev. In the Torah it says you're not allowed to eat chaylev. It's a big no-no. The part of the animal, the fats, certain fats of the animal. That's what the candle's made out of. And he's sitting there, he's learning. He says, they talk so much about not giving into Yitzhara. I need to see what it is. And he goes and gives a bite into the candle. Says, this is what I forget about it. So that's the same idea. Right? Yeah. So Abaye tells Rav Yosef they're arguing in a suffix. They're arguing in Demai. Demai is a doubt whether this guy took Meiser or not. But we are talking about a definite not taking Meiser ani. So how could you compare the two? And Ella de Kuliyama Vade Toivlay. And maybe according to that, we could say that of course in a doubt, then they argue. But if it's for sure they didn't take Meiser ani, maybe everybody agrees that it becomes Tavel. Right? Who afrushim afrish savri given the v'rabbanon savri given the trichale milsa loy mafrish, and not only that, he gives a svara to it. That what are they arguing? They're arguing about a guy that maybe didn't. We're not sure if he took meiserani. So one guy says, yeah, but he has to give tzedakah. Who's gonna hold back from giving tzedakah? It's one thing that you're gonna hold back something else, but tzedakah, who's gonna hold back from giving tzedakah? And the other one says, yeah, but it's a bother. He has to go and separate it. So maybe he says, I'm not gonna ignore that bother, and that's what they're arguing. What's the spot of this guy? One more part, because I want to get to the Mishnah. One more part from the previous Mishnah. Kama yochel min hatevel, right? How much does he have to eat from tevel in order to be liable for lashes? So the Gemara over there the Mishnah over there had an argument. There was one opinion that when it comes to tevel, that even a drop is a problem. The other one says no, you have to eat at least a kazayas, right? It has to be a specific amount. Now the Gemara is going to try to compare wheat or flour or dough or bread to beria to a bug. Because what do we say? A bug, as long as it's the whole bug, it's already a problem, right? It doesn't have to be a kazayis, right? So they're going to try to compare, and ultimately the Gemara is going to say that it can't compare. Amar Beivai, Amar Shimon ben Lakish, Machlekes Bechita. Beivai says the name of Shimon ben Lakish. That's an argument when it comes to a chita. Chita is a kernel of wheat, right? The Machlekes, if that's considered to be beria or not considered to be beria. So that's when it's a kernel of wheat. But if it's flour already, everybody agrees that it has to be already a kazayis. Okay. Rabbi Yirmiyah, Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish, machlekes bezu, kaf machlekes bezu. But Rabbi Yirmiyah says in the name of Rish Lakish that no, they argue either way. They argue about a kernel of flour, a kernel of wheat, just like they argue by flour, and both of them are considered to be chashuv enough. On that if you eat it, you get malchus. So he says, why don't you agree with me that you should be, this is what we learned in our Mishnah. We're quoting from our Mishnah now. Rabbi Shimon says to the sages, right? The sages said that you have to eat the size of an olive. And he says, kolshus. He says, 1 second. Didn't you just say, you agreed with me when it came to a barrier, to a bug, that it's a kolshu, right? So why don't you agree to me when it comes to wheat? That it should be kolshu, it should be just any part, right? So Amrullah says no, because this is the way it was created. This is its whole thing. The ganze Metzius is this little bug. That's it, right? It's just what a kernel of wheat also. This is the way it was created. This is the way it was on the stalk, etc. So he says so maybe okay. So the kernel of wheat, yes, but not flour. We'll agree with you for the kernel of wheat, but not for the flour. So the Gemara says, no, you can't learn it like this. The Lidivrayim Kamarlu, Lididi, Afilu Kamach Nami, Aval Lididchu, Oiduli, Mias Techita Achas Kivriyasa. So Rav Shimon says that according to me, I'm of the opinion that even flour, right? That even flour that you eat, even less than a kazayis. But according to you, that when you say, what did the sages say? That by flour you need the size of kazayis. At least agree with me that when it comes to a kernel of wheat, that this is the way it was created, and it should be the same thing as a barrier, as a bug, right? So the Gemara say no, but the Rabbana will answer. This is the Gemara saying in the name.
Such a beautiful answer.
Yeah, exactly. This is the halacha, by the way. This answer is what comes out la halacha. They say no, the Rabbanan brias neshama chashuva. It's got a soul. The bug's got a soul. If that's what makes it chashuv, think the fact that it's whole makes it chashuv. It's alive.
You see, that's a good answer to your question.
Yeah.
Who's going to eat ants? Who's going to eat bees? But the fact
You should
is
recognize that it has an neshama.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And chita loy chashuva, a kernel of wheat is not chashuv like that. It doesn't. It's not alive. It doesn't have it has its own neshama, but not the same thing. Tanya, you see, the ganze Gemara was worth it for that line, right? 100%. I agree. Tanya can say that Rabbi Yirmiyah, not that the other Gemara was. It's just it adds a certain level of gishmak. Tanya can say that Rabbi Yirmiyah, Rabbi Shimon, Aimer, we certainly learned similar to Rabbi Yirmiyah. Rabbi Shimon says, "Kol shuhu lemakes." That when it comes to lashes, like amru kazayis elalin in carbon, that we only say, that we only say, meaning that Reb Shimon is of the opinion, the Allah is not like him. Reb Shimon's opinion that you could get lashes even for a kolshu, and we didn't say kazayis elalin in carbon, that if you did it not on purpose. If you did it on purpose, even if it was a kolshu, according to Reb Shimon, even a kolshu, right, you can still get lashes on purpose. Now, when we talk about a kazayis, is if you did it inadvertently. So if I had a drop inadvertently, that's nothing, right? But if you had a kazayis, then you should bring a carbon, and that's where it comes in. And this, we'll pause over here.
Right. See, this is part of the.